So, we can all agree that some of the newer Tag 2 enemies are quite lacking when it comes to their place within the roster. Some of them are outright redundant and would be better off being completely removed from the game. My philosophy when it comes to bringing difficulty into a game is very simple. Difficulty through complexity. If you're going to introduce new enemies or improve existing ones, then you must bring new mechanics. Don't just buff the enemy's stats like increase their health, their damage and their speed and call it a day. Because that is lazy and it's complete opposite of innovation. So based on this philosophy, let's analyze the new enemies and see how they can improve them, at least the ones that really need improving. So let's start with the most hated enemy, the Cursed Prowler. This is the enemy that I personally quite like because it brings something new to the game. Instead of forcing players to play with a specific weapon mod or weapon combinations with no real good incentive. So how do these Cursed Prowlers work? Well, their basic functionality is exactly the same as a normal Prowler. They teleport around the room, throwing projectiles at you, and occasionally they'll teleport behind you and hit you a couple of times with their claws. The Cursed Prowlers also have an added effect on all of their abilities, including their ranged attack, whereby if you get hit by any of their attacks, you are then cursed. This curse disables your dash ability and prevents you from using lock-on weapons, but only on the Prowler. This also includes the meat hook. However, you can still use lock-ons on other enemies nearby. This curse also deals damage over time, 10 points of damage per second to be precise. The damage from the curse also mostly bypasses the chain gun shield, so instead of taking 10 points of damage, you will take I think around 6 or 7 points while you have the chain gun shield active. But if you have the chain gun shield active before you are cursed, then you will be immune to being cursed. Now Hugo has already mentioned that in a future update, the Cursed Prowler will be giving the player a free charge of Blood Punch when they get cursed, assuming that they don't have any Blood Punch charges. And I have to say, with full honesty, that this is a very bad change and also very uninspired. This change makes no sense to me, because there isn't a single enemy that literally gives you the one thing that you need to kill it. That change would make the Cursed Prowler completely redundant. It will remove the danger of having a Cursed Prowler in the first place, because if you get cursed, this change will basically allow you to never get worried, because if you get hit, you will get a free charge of Blood Punch. Then you can focus all your effort into finding and killing the Prowler. That's it. So where exactly is the danger of having this enemy on the chessboard or the battlefield? So because of this, I've come up with a couple of suggestions that I think might actually be a much better solution. So my first suggestion is that the Cursed Prowler works similarly as it does now, except reducing the damage that the curse deals by half. As an added benefit, the curse should give you a significant movement speed increase and increases the speed of your glory kills, which could potentially stack with the Savagery rune. This increase in speed will allow players to quickly get Blood Punch charges by glory killing 2 fodder demons or either 1 heavy or 1 super heavy. You can also use some sort of lore explanation that when a mortal is cursed, their heart starts to beat much faster. Any normal person would suffer a heart attack, whereas the increase in the heart rate allows the Slayer to move faster. Now, once you are cursed, you can see the Prowler through the walls. I suggest that additionally, once the Slayer is cursed, his suit then turns on the infrared vision, which allows him to see fodder demons in the area, similar to the Predator vision from the movie Alien vs. Predator. This will give a clear indication to the player where all the fodder demons are, and they can then go and perform 2 glory kills and get their Blood Punch charges. And then after that, they can then find and destroy the Cursed Prowler by following the highlight or the silhouette that the Slayer can already see of the cursed Prowler through the walls. My second suggestion builds upon my previous one, is that when he curses the Slayer, he teleports to a random location and he remains stationary. He should also be unable to be seen through the walls because of course he isn't moving. The curse would give you a movement speed increase and a glory kill speed increase, allowing you to get blood punch charges through glory killing quickly. Then the Slayer's suit systems kick in, and just like Wolverine, the Slayer can see the poisonous trail left behind by the Prowler, sort of like a noxious scent or pheromones that he has left behind. A good example of what I mean is in one of my most favorite games from PlayStation 2, X-Men Origins Wolverine's Revenge, where Wolverine can visually sense the trail of an enemy's scent or smell in the form of a trail. This then allows the player to follow this trail and then find and destroy the enemy. Now let's move on to the most forgettable enemy in the DLC, the Riot Shield Soldier. He was so forgettable for me, in fact, that I completely forgot to include him in my review of Tag 2. So if you haven't seen it, I suggest you should check it out. The link to the video is in the description. Now, I do have a couple of suggestions for this enemy, and my suggestions are as follows. So my first suggestion is to make this enemy function in a phalanx formation. Just in case you don't know what that is, it was a common technique used by the ancient Greek, where a group of soldiers with shields would stack up next to each other, creating an entire wall of their shield, making it nearly impossible for enemy projectiles to go through the shield. There's a couple of good examples of this from the movie 300 or from the movie Troy. So in this case, have at least 3 of them spawn next to each other and make them immune to falters. They should then slowly move towards the Slayer and provide some sort of area denial. So the only way to kill them is to shoot a couple of remote detonations behind them, or by throwing a few sticky bombs or normal grenades behind them as well. My other suggestion is to have these enemies spawn at certain locations within an arena, and then they stay stationary, while also having immunity to falters. So in this case, since they're not in a phalanx formation, have them able to point their shield at the Slayer at all times, no matter what speed the Slayer is moving in, similar to the Gladiator, the Marauder, or even the Dark Lord. And since these enemies are located at certain key points in the arena, they can effectively act as the sniper lookouts from other games, where when you pop out into their line of sight, they can then spool up their chain gun and start firing in your location. Similarly, the only way to kill them would be to use remote detonations, grenades, or sticky bombs behind them, since the shield is always facing you. But I think that these suggestions regarding the shield soldier might be a bit too much for the casual player base, but still I think this is a good starting point. Now let's move on to the stone imps. These are my most disliked enemy in the game, as they don't bring anything new to the game. Instead, they force the player to use certain mods in order to destroy them. While you can still use the destroyer blade or the micro missiles, the tutorials explicitly mention that they are most weakest to the auto mod shotgun. You can also use a combination of meat hook into an auto mod or microwave beam into an auto mod. This then allows them to be destroyed extremely easily, and using this method just makes them completely redundant because they literally don't provide anything new. The stone imps give you no incentive to use the automod shotgun other than getting bonus shotgun shells, which, if I'm being completely honest, are quite easy to get if you are weapon swapping at an average or a higher level, along with using the chainsaw or the hammer correctly. Then ammo is really a non-issue. I feel there needs to be even more of an incentive to use the automod shotgun against stone imps. And just to make it clear, by the word incentive, I mean that the player actively wants to use the automod over the destroyer blade or micro missiles or any other weapon, because the reward for doing so would be so great. A good example of incentivization in Doom Eternal is when you headshot a Maker drone or a Maker angel. Now ideally you can shoot them in the body and still kill them that way, but why would you when you get showered with full ammo, full health, and full blood punch charges? The reward for doing a headshot on a Maker is so high that you would go out of your way to get that headshot. And that is the definition of the word incentivization in games. Now my suggestion for the Stone Imps is that if you kill them using the automod shotgun, they should drop chunks of armor on the ground. And this would work very well within the lore because it states that they need a consistent source of concussive damage that will destroy their stone hide through constant vibrations through impact. In return, make them immune to flame belch because they're made of stone. Stones are already immune to fire. I think this would lead more players to going out of their way to use the automod against the Stone Imps, because the incentive to use it on a Stone Imp would be free armor shards, along with more shotgun shells. For the people that don't want to use automod, they still have the option of using Destroyer Blade or micro missiles, but they won't be missing out on much, because they can use the Flame Belch on any other demon to get the armor that they need. And since the Stone Imps are immune to fire effects, there would be no big loss for them. Now the last two enemies that are left are the Screechers and the Armored Baron. And if I'm being completely honest, these two enemies are absolutely perfect in their implementation, and there's really nothing else I can really add to their combat mechanics. The only thing I could probably suggest for the Armored Baron is that very rarely does it do its overhead smash ability. What I would expect to happen is that this ability happens more often, because right now once you destroy its shields, it just continuously goes in for the swipe, and that's really all there is. When you compare it to a normal Baron, they go in for the swipe a couple of times, but if you're too far away, they will then do a sort of a Hulk smash ability. So this is pretty much what I expect the Armored Baron to do as well. The Screechers on the other hand are just perfect. They are so much more better than the Buff Totem in just every single way, and I hope that this is the sort of innovation that id Software continues to utilize in future games and for future enemies. And that's all I have for this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think of my suggestions, or if you have any other or better suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. Other than that, if you liked the video, make sure to like, and most importantly, make sure to subscribe, as all of these actions help my channel through the YouTube algorithm. And as always, I will see you in the next video.